Imagine yourself standing in the heart of the African savanna at the most radiant hour of the day. The sunset pours down like liquid honey, staining the dry grasses that rustle in the wind a deep gold. There, a lion cub with chubby paws and eyes full of curiosity clumsily practices pouncing over thorn bushes. Since childhood, we have been told that these animals are symbols of courage, uncrowned kings holding the power of absolute freedom. However, as we look deeper toward that distant horizon, the image suddenly shatters. The vast, endless skyline is gone. In its place are cold rows of barbed wire fences. This is not the beginning of a life of freedom, but the start of a predetermined sentence. In South Africa, behind the glamorous tourism advertisements, lies a truth few wish to mention: lions in glass cages. They are not born to rule a vast green kingdom, but to become a product in a cruel industrial assembly line. From the arms of volunteers to selfies with tourists, every caress is a step in preparing for a tragic end at the barrel of a billionaire hunter's gun. Together, we will delve into the journey of these creatures to understand that sometimes misguided human kindness is the very beginning of an inescapable pain. The journey of a captive-born lion usually begins with a lie, skillfully wrapped in the guise of humanitarianism. In these breeding facilities, cubs are torn away from their mothers just hours or days after birth. To a casual observer, the sight of a tiny, chirping cub being bottle-fed by a smiling volunteer looks like a noble rescue mission. But in nature, a lioness would never voluntarily abandon her young. By forcibly separating them, farm owners force the mother into a continuous breeding cycle, turning her into an industrial birthing machine at a frequency 3 to 4 times higher than normal. For the cubs, the first months of life are a whirlwind of human hands. This is the petting phase, the big moneymaker. Thousands of well-intentioned but uninformed tourists, many traveling from as far as the United States, visit these farms. They willingly pay significant sums to hold a cub in their arms and take a shimmering selfie for social media. They are fed heartwarming scripts. Their mother abandoned them, or these lions are being raised to be released into the wild to save the species. It is a narrative that strikes a chord of compassion, prompting tourists to open their wallets without hesitation. However, scientific reality is far colder. A lion raised by human hands, stripped of its wild instincts and lacking a pride's social structure, can almost never return to the wild. They lack hunting skills and, most importantly, they lose their instinctive fear of humans, a survival requirement. In truth, these cubs are being socialized for a darker purpose. By teaching them that humans bring food and affection, breeders ensure that later, when a hunter enters a fenced enclosure, the lion will not run away. It will saunter toward them, expecting a treat or a scratch behind the ears, only to receive a cold bullet. This industry exists entirely on our desire to connect with nature. It exploits human empathy to operate a production line of life. Volunteers from around the world pay thousands of dollars to work here, believing they're contributing to conservation, when in reality, they're providing free labor for wildlife traffickers. We must ask ourselves, is a radiant photo on social media for 5 minutes worth the lifetime imprisonment of a majestic creature? The truth is, every time a tourist pays to hold a cub, they unknowingly become a link in this chain of tragedy, where love for animals is weaponized for cruelty. As the cubs grow, they begin to lose their small, adorable appearance. Those chubby paws now carry razor-sharp claws, and their high-pitched chirps have transformed into a majestic roar that shakes the soul. At this stage, they're no longer fit to be held by tourists or featured in sweet selfies. They enter the second phase of their lives, the waiting period to become a commodity in the truest sense. No longer provided with cozy rooms or volunteer care, they're moved to larger enclosures, yet still separated from the world by towering electric fences. Here, their predatory instincts are completely stifled, as food is thrown over the fence every day like livestock. This is when the value of a king is quantified by soulless numbers on online trophy hunting websites. For wealthy trophy hunters from around the world, hunting a wild lion is an expensive, difficult, and risky process. They must trek through deep bush for weeks, facing danger and sometimes returning empty-handed. But in the canned hunting industry, everything is 100% guaranteed. A long list of targets appears with photos and specific price tags. A male lion with a thick black mane, a symbol of power and grandeur, can be sold for $40,000 to $50,000. Smaller or less healthy lions are priced lower, around $5,000. The price of a life now depends entirely on how it will look on the victor's living room wall. The tragedy lies in the fact that this is not a fair hunt between man and beast. It is a staged execution. The lion, so accustomed to the scent of humans and seeing them as a source of food, will have no reflex to flee when a hunter approaches. In even more horrific cases, the animal may be starved or drugged so that it stands still, allowing the wealthy client to make the kill without any effort. When a gunshot rings out in that confined space, it is not the sound of a hunter conquering nature, but the sound of betrayal. The lion trusted humans since birth, only to be executed by the very hands that once bottle-fed it. Each year, approximately 1,000 lions fall in these bloody scenarios. The massive profits from these hunts are never reinvested into conservation as the advertisements claim. Instead, the money flows into the pockets of farm owners, fueling the construction of more fences, the breeding of more stock, and the continuation of a cycle that turns the symbol of freedom into a negotiable commodity. When we put a price on a king, we don't just kill an animal. We suffocate the dignity of the natural world. The tragic story of captive lions does not end with the hunter's gunshot. In fact, the cruelty of this industry involves a total extraction process that outsiders can hardly imagine. After the hunter takes the head and hide as a proud trophy to hang on a wall, the remainder of the lion's carcass, the skeleton, begins another dark journey. This is where the ripple effect spreads, moving beyond the farms to directly threaten the survival of the last wild lion prides on Earth. In recent years, as the supply of tiger bones in Asia has become scarce due to tightened regulations, lion bones have become a perfect substitute. In countries like China, lion bones are ground into powder to make traditional cakes, medicinal wine, or jewelry, driven by the blind belief in their healing, strengthening powers. This creates a double revenue stream for farm owners. They collect money from cub-petting tourists, collect money from hunters, and finally sell the bones to international kingpins. It is a closed-loop process where not a single hair or scrap of bone is wasted in the pursuit of profit. The real danger lies in the fact that the legal lion bone market from these farms unintentionally becomes a shield for poaching. When lion bone products are allowed to circulate, it becomes impossible to distinguish between the bones of a captive-bred lion and a wild lion shot illegally in national parks. Poachers can launder their products into this market, driving up the demand for lion bones and indirectly putting the real kings of the savanna in the crosshairs of snipers. We are creating a global market hungry for lion parts, and the price we pay is the extinction of the species in the wild. Furthermore, the biological consequences of this captivity are equally ruthless. To maximize profit, many farm owners engage in inbreeding to create individuals with specific physical traits or simply to rapidly increase the population. The result is generations of lions born with bone deformities, weakened immune systems, and severe neurological issues. They bear the shape of a lion, but have been stripped of the strength and genetic identity of their species. Looking through the barbed wire fences in South Africa, we don't just see imprisoned creatures. We see the disintegration of a symbol. The king of the jungle has been reduced to pieces of profit, petting fees, kill fees, and bone export fees. Understanding this connection is vital, as it shows that the problem is not just a few isolated farms, but a global consumption network that requires public awakening to be dismantled. It is easy to feel a heavy sadness when facing these truths. The image of lions born only to be target practice is a wound that is hard to heal. However, the reason we share this story is not to drown you in despair, but to empower you with the truth. Great change in Africa often begins with the small choices made in living rooms in America or anywhere else in the world. We are the demand side of this economic equation, and that means we hold the power to shift the market. The solution lies in the concept of ethical tourism. There are wonderful sanctuaries and national parks where lions live according to their true nature, wild, wary of humans, and part of a complex, magnificent ecosystem. When you choose to visit places like Kruger National Park or the Serengeti, your entry fees go directly to anti-poaching units and habitat conservation efforts. You are using your vote to choose a world where lions are respected from a distance, through the lens of binoculars, rather than being petted in a cramped cage. We also need to learn how to identify genuine conservation facilities. A simple golden rule: if a facility allows you to touch, feed, or take selfies with lion cubs, it is not a true sanctuary. A legitimate rescue center always prioritizes animal welfare over tourist preferences. They create a forever home for abandoned creatures without breeding them or using them for profit. By educating friends and family about the truth behind the cub petting photo, we can make these farms unprofitable and cause them to fade away. Think back to the sunset we saw at the beginning. We want that image to be more than just a distant dream. We want a world where a cub's biggest concern is learning how to pounce on its sibling's tail, not when the next tourist bus will arrive. We have the opportunity to be the generation that ends the era of canned hunting. We can choose to support organizations like Blood Lions or the Born Free Foundation, who work tirelessly to change laws and shut down these life factories. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this painful truth. If this story touched your heart, please share it. The more people understand the reality behind the lion petting photo, the sooner we can break this cruel cycle. Let the wilderness be returned to its true meaning. Let us ensure that the kings keep their crowns, not in a cage, but under the vast African sky. Until then, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember that every choice you make is shaping the world we live in.